Good morning, good morning. It is Friday, the 14th of March 2025. You're watching Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes, on Politics Social. I hope you're all doing all right this morning. Who have we got in the chat? We've got Pygmalion in there, we've got Reagan Elite, we've got David Horado, we've got Anne Phillips in there, we've got Pete's Music, and Leonora is in there, and Koala Meat. Also got Plum Duff, Leon Plum Duff. We've also got Veg Pie and SG and others. If you'd like to join them in the chat, just press that subscribe button. Get yourself subscribing to Politics Social. It's not like we don't provide enough content on this channel. Hey, you know what I mean? Back at 1 o'clock with Phil Morehouse, we'll be talking about British stuff that's going on, including the wholesale dismantlement of NHS England and the other shit that Labour's getting up to. But we'll talk about that at 1. Today we're going to be talking, this morning, we're going to be talking about Trump and Putin. Because Putin is playing Trump like a cheap fiddle, and Trump is loving it, like a McDonald's, which apparently he loves. Trump thinks he's a master negotiator. In reality, Vladimir Putin is playing him like a 2-bit fiddle, and he's too busy. Trump is too busy preening in the mirror to notice or even care that he's being played. Russia is stalling on a US brokered ceasefire agreement for Ukraine. This is not a peace deal. It's just a ceasefire for 1 month to say, let's stop shooting at each other for 1 month. Let's stop dropping bombs on each other for 2 months. Putin's never had a ceasefire that he hasn't violated, so you never know. It could be the first time, which is why Volodymyr Zelensky and the Ukrainians are saying we need assurances that if they break the ceasefire, there will be ramifications for that, doing that. But yeah, but Putin's not going to give them any concessions on this. They're going to be like, no, we can break the ceasefire at any time, and whenever we want, so we could spend a couple of weeks not firing any weapons and just building up for a big mass attack, and then in 2 weeks' time we'll just have a big attack. That'll learn you. Yeah, not great. Putin is dangling the prospect of negotiation while making new demands that benefit only Russia, not America, not NATO, not Europe, not peace, and certainly not Ukraine. No, just Russia. Just Russia. And Trump is bending over backwards, that's a horrible thought, to appease him, eager to claim a peace deal, even if it means throwing Ukraine, NATO, and US credibility under the bus. Now, the question we need to ask is, does Trump know he's being played, or is he complicit? Maybe a bit of both. Maybe. I don't know. But this is straight out of Putin's playbook that he's been using for the last 28 years. 28 years. Yeah, pretty much. It's been using the same playbook. Classic Russian negotiation tactics here. We've got delay. Moscow drags out the talks to extract maximum concessions. Stack the deck. Putin pretends to accept details, only to add impossible conditions later. So he says, oh, yeah, we want this deal. They say, okay, well, we'll come to sign. He goes, oh, just hang on. I just want to change this at the end. And you say, well, we can't live with that. Oh, you're ruining this deal now, are you? You're ruining our deal. You wanted me to come here for this deal, but now you're not doing it. And also, he dangles the carrot, doesn't he? Oh, I think it's a carrot. He offers just enough to keep Trump engaged while continuing his war effort. And I mean, Putin has already extracted everything he ever wanted from Trump. It was all his birthdays and Christmases come at once. No more military aid to Ukraine unless Zelensky bows to Trump's demands. No path to NATO for Ukraine, and a White House that is openly hostile to Europe and NATO and Canada and Mexico and Australia and all of their traditional allies, while being, I mean, not just subservient, but kind of like disgustingly servile to Russia. Like America on its knees, servicing Russia's needs right now. That's what we're seeing in the rest of the world. I don't know if Americans can see this. I don't know if they can see what, we're all seeing our mind's eye of America right now, and what sexual acts that Russia is currently performing on Moscow. And like at the end of it saying, no, it's okay, Vlad, you keep the money. You need it. You need it more than I do. Anyway, yeah. Trump's response to Putin's really milky toast response. So the response to the ceasefire. Putin made a great statement. It's the guy who called Zelensky a dictator. I think we're going to be in great shape. Meanwhile, Putin keeps rolling his tanks forward. He's already doing a victory lap in the Kursk region of Russia, which was going to be used by Ukraine as a canny bargaining chip for any future peace deal. Now that's off the table, thanks to Trump. Thanks to Trump stopping the military intelligence going through. So thanks to Trump, pausing the military aid going through in an attempt to demoralize Ukraine, so they just give up. What a fucking scumbag. What a shitbag. What an absolute piece of human shit. Tell you, when Trump leaves the White House in a box, I'm going to have the biggest fucking party. I tell you, everyone I know is going to have the biggest fucking party. I had to fill out a form this morning about my mental health. And he said, has anything happened in the last 2 months that has negatively affected your mental health? And I was like, kidding, aren't you? Trump. Destroying everything that is good. Everything that is good. No one is tougher on Russia than me, said Trump. While, repeatedly, while bending to Putin's every whim. And, Trump has an obsession with Putin. It's a fucking love story. The 2016 election, Russia helped Trump get elected. Trump calls it all a hoax. He said, oh no, the Russia hoax, the Russia hoax. If you actually if you bother to read the report into Russian interference, not only did it find shitloads of Russian interference, people went to jail. A lot of people went to jail for corruption, but they couldn't touch the president because the president, for whatever reason, in the Mueller report, was seen to be above the law. Then you've got Helsinki 2018, in which Trump publicly sided with Putin over US intelligence. That's not siding with Putin over Ukraine or the EU or Britain or Canada. No, over the USA. He sided with the dictator, the murderous dictator, the brutal dictator of Russia, a man who has his enemies executed in a variety of ways. It might be polonium, it might be Novichok, he might throw them out of a plane, he might throw them out of a window, he might explode the plane with them in it. There's lots of ways to skin a cat. And Trump's sitting there going, yeah, I trust this guy over our own intelligence agencies. Wow. Fucking hell. All these red-blooded Americans chanting around in their fucking pickup trucks shouting US fucking A, thinking that they're kings and queens of the world, yeah? And their leader is on his knees to Russia, who for 75 years I thought was America's enemy, but apparently not. Apparently they're in love. Trump's first impeachment that he had two. And his first one was because he rang up Volodymyr Zelensky, and in return for American aid that had already been sanctioned by Congress, so Congress had already said, yes, this is okay, we're going to put this through, you may have X amount of military aid. Trump called up Zelensky, completely illegally, and said, I want you to dig up dirt on my political rival's son, or you're not getting that military aid that our Congress has voted for. And then post-2022, he has praised Putin's, what he said was genius in invading Ukraine. And then the last couple of weeks, he's cut Ukraine off from US intelligence, pushed for a rushed ceasefire that hands Moscow everything they've ever wanted. Is this just desperation for a win? Or is, as we all suspect, Trump, is he actually working for Putin? What do you think? It's rather heavy these days. In other news, Big Phil Morehouse, the badger, is happy, been digging through the bugs and has a new girlfriend. Oh, cool. That's cool. Martin Harrow. Someone should remind Trump that Canada is a sovereign territory and Charles is their king. Yeah, they should. These people who love Trump would also have hailed Reagan as a hero for the opposite reason. Yeah, I don't think they're really aligned in their mental states. I think they're. Can anyone die of cognitive dissonance? Is it deadly? Is it I think it might be. Luigi has work to do, says Alchemist. Yeah. There's a lot of people who need Luigiing right now. A lot of people. And I think what happens if you take these really, really rich people, these billionaires, and you Luigi them, I think money pops out. You know, like in a video game. You get supplies, like you get weapons, you get you get a first aid kit, and you get money. You get gold coins. I think that's what happens. We should test out that theory. So what comes next? If Trump hands Ukraine to Putin on a global strategy, on a silver platter, what comes next? Embolden Russia, pushing into Moldova, the Baltics. China's watching this closely. If the US abandon its allies, what does that mean for Taiwan, who's just paid a $100 billion bribe to America to move a semiconductor, their biggest industry, actually, their biggest company in Taiwan, to move a plant to America to make semiconductors in America. This is a huge bribe to Trump, but you can't trust Trump. You can't trust what he says. He says he's going to put 50% tariffs on stuff, and then he doesn't. He says he's going to do this, and he doesn't. Then he says they're going to do that, and he does. You don't know what he's going to do. Can't trust him. Any deal that fucking slug signs means absolutely nothing, as the trade deal that he put in to replace the North America Free Trade Association deal, the NAFTA deal. He replaced it with this US CAM or whatever it was called deal, right? USMCA? I don't know. It was US, Mexico, Canada deal. And you'll never guess who recently broke that deal that he signed in the first place. Yeah, it was Donald Trump. So Donald Trump betrays Donald Trump. Donald Trump now betrays former Donald Trump and calls the former Donald Trump a dickhead for signing a deal that gave everything away. It's so unfair. God, I am so sick and tired. Don't forget a bit loud now, but I'm so sick and tired of fucking millionaires and billionaires, the rich, the landed rich, the Lawrence Foxes of the world, the Donald Trumps going, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. We were treated very unfairly. These people haven't got the first fucking clue about fairness. And all they do all day, it's not fair. It's not fair. Why is nothing fair? And then if we point out that it's not fair, that 93% of the population that attended state school are locked out of all of the top well-paying, fun jobs in this country because it's absolutely dominated by the 7% who did go to private school, we're told that's the politics of envy, mate. We're told to our fucking faces, the politics of envy. Look at the chip you've got on your shoulder. When you point out that only 8% of people working in film and TV in this country have working class backgrounds. Oh, you've got a chip on your shoulder, old chap. Oh, let me knock that off for you. More cocaine for me. It's unfair. Unfair. Do you want to talk about unfairness? What about the woman who has a miscarriage and can't have a surgical operation to save her life because of the anti-abortion laws in America? Is that unfair? What about the Ukrainian mother cradling her dead child in her hand because Donald Trump cut off intelligence so that they didn't know, the Ukrainians didn't know where was being bombed that night or where was having missiles or drone attacks that night? Is that fair? What about Canada? Signed a deal with Donald Trump. Not with the American government necessarily, right? Donald fucking Trump. And then he's reneged on that deal. Is that fair? And I go around the fucking world. And if there's any Americans watching this, I'd just like to address you for a moment. You go around the fucking world and you cannot escape America. There are McDonald's fucking everywhere, KFCs. I have walked down a dirt track in Central Africa and got to a village that has no fucking road. But they have Coca-Cola. Stop talking about how unfair it is for America when we're currently broadcasting on an American platform, using American GPS fucking satellites, using an American internet. We have to use this stuff and we give you money for it. America has integrated itself into societies all over the world and made a fuck ton of money out of it. That's why America's the richest country in the world by a fucking mile. But apparently, it's unfair. Do you know why loads of people think it's unfair in America? Because actually, in America itself, nothing to do with us non-Americans, who comprise most of the world's population, by the way. People in America think it's unfair because they see people like Elon Musk, Nepo babies, getting everything. And they get fuck all. They get spun myths about the American dream. The American dream's not going to happen unless your daddy works for fucking Merrill Lynch, okay? It's not going to happen. Be very lucky. Be very, very, very lucky. And on the way there, people will abuse you. The people with money will abuse you. Because that's what they fucking do. That's not unique to America, though. That's everywhere in the fucking world. They don't understand the power of the power dynamics of someone who has something that you've always wanted, and they dangle it in front of you and say, "Will you? Do you want this? Do you want this?" And you say yes, and they go, "Oh, well, you know, it's got to cost you," because they can. It's nothing to them. But for you, for me, for normal people, it's everything. It's everything we've ever wanted. And they will fucking play on that. They will fucking play on it. They always do. And you'll see the millionaires and the billionaires meeting up at these big meetings around the world and making TV shows about themselves, documentaries directed by someone who's privately educated, about someone who is privately educated, who's keeping fucking bees in their back garden. Hello, I'm privately educated. I've decided to have some bees in my back garden. You think I'm taking the piss, but there was actually a BBC 4 show, a documentary about a posh old lady who decided to keep bees in her back garden. I shit you not. And I looked up her name on the internet, and it turns out she went to one of the most expensive public schools in Britain. Imagine being able to turn up, right? With just, turn up to go and have a meeting with a TV exec. You go into the meeting and you've got a pad, but the pad's like all it says. Oh, do I not have a pen? Oh shit. I don't have a pen. Oh, hang on. Here we go. It's good. Right. So okay, so this is what you do. You go in to see a BBC exec, right? Old school friend of your father's or something. And you say to them, I've got this great idea for a documentary. And they go, oh, is it about visiting every country in the world without flying? Because that'd be really interesting, staying with local people everywhere you go and getting local transport, seeing a side of these places that no one really sees, because all travel shows are made by posh people who can probably afford those holidays. No, they just have a big blank bit of paper, and on the piece of paper it says, bees. And the TV exec is like, fuck me. Brilliant. What's the pitch? Bees. Mind blown. Here is £500,000 to go and make a documentary about your fucking bees. And Donald Trump goes, things are unfair. It's unfair. We're treated so badly. Fucking victim complex. And that's something that is very common with narcissists. And I'm sure you've had narcissists in your life. I know I've had narcissists in my life. That they're never in the wrong. It's never their fault. And they'll never take responsibility. And they are always the victim in anything they do. They go out and murder a bunch of people, but it was their fault, those people's fault for annoying them or something. I don't know. You know the type. And the fact that people fall in love with narcissists to the extent where they'll vote for them to run the world is, kind of galling on so many levels. Anyway, so we'll need to talk about the broader consequences of Putin's global strategy in a moment. But first of all, McFucking Litters, says David Peacock. Sorry, that was held for approval, which I've given it now. Also, Starlink has made it very obvious they're willing to switch off the services for political reasons, so why would anyone in their right mind rely on them anymore? Yeah, Katrina, great point. You can't trust America anymore. You can't trust American companies. You can't trust the American government. You just can't. We cannot trust America. America's making itself like Russia, which makes sense because the leaders of America look up to Russia. They praise Russia. Now, you got to understand that, like, there's about 50 oligarchs in Russia who are doing really well. Everyone else is fucked. Like, the rest of that country is there's so much poverty in Russia. They play it down because they don't publish their figures and they don't let people know what's happening in the economy, really. So you've got to kind of glean information out of it best you can. But I can tell you this, it has a GDP that's comparable with, like, Nicaragua or somewhere, you know, not a developing country. It has a GDP per capita of a developing country. Not a developed country, not an advanced economy. And the way it's run, it never will be, because you can't make shitloads of money through a cartel. You just can't. In this world, it just doesn't work. I mean, you might make money for a small group of people. That's what a cartel does. But you can't make money for everyone. And when you go, oh, well, you know, Pablo Escobar, he built a football pitch for the kids of Medellin. And you're like, great. Okay. Did he pay the benefits to all the disabled people? Did he pay the unemployment benefits to the people who were looking for work? Did he pay all the pensions for the old people? I don't think he fucking did. He just dropped a couple of gifts on the people in Medellin, and they went, "Oh wow, you're amazing. You're not the bad drug dealer that everyone's making you out to be, even though you totally blew up a plane full of people because, you know, drugs." Well, there's still people to this day who make pilgrimages to fucking Pablo Escobar's grave to lay fucking flowers like a twat. Like, oh, he gave us me cocaine. Fucking cokeheads. Probably might lose some of my audience here. I don't give a fuck. Coke is a country mile drug. It's not a nice drug. It's a see you next Tuesday drug. It is a drug that turns ordinary people into Tories and turns people who are Tories into the worst narcissist you'll ever have the unfortunate time of ever meeting. And there is a global trade in blood that leads all the way from the foothills of Bolivia to your fucking right nostril, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I think it should be legalized so that, you know, it could be administered in clinics and stuff. People, that's what they want to do to get their rocks off, fine. But actually, the situation at the moment is fucking untenable. Absolutely untenable. Because not only are you fucking up society, I blame most things that have happened in the last 50 years on cocaine. All the worst things you have seen in the last 50 years, probably something to do with cocaine. We used to say back in the day, didn't we, that you know, cherchez la femme, there was always a woman involved. And it's not, right? Incels and cocaine, that's what's involved. Have a look. Young men who can't get their rocks off. Okay, let's become a suicide bomber. Young men who can't get their rocks off. Oh, let's go vote for Trump. He'll allow me to rape women, and then I'll be able to get me rocks off. Great, well done. There was a woman on did a video about voting for Trump. She voted for Trump, and this woman, God love her, she wasn't the most. How can I put this in a delicate way? She wasn't the most traditionally feminine-looking woman. Okay, and she voted for Trump. Not only is she not a particularly, you know, feminine-looking woman, which is going to create problems with her down the line, I'm pretty sure. She also said she worked at a rape crisis center. She works at a rape crisis center, and she voted for a rapist. Hello. Oh, and one of her children is non-binary, apparently. And she voted for Trump. I was reading yesterday about the Doral area of Miami in Florida, and it's full of Venezuelans. Like, it's 33% Venezuelans or something. And a lot of them couldn't vote for Trump because they're migrants, but many of them were supporting Trump. And now they're getting deported. And they were like, well, I didn't expect them to deport me. This is after Trump has repealed the temporary leave to remain that Biden put in, and Biden put it in for another 18 months for these refugees from Venezuela. But no, so they're getting deported, and yet they still think it was right for them to vote for Trump. And all I can think of is the nanny from The Omen saying, "Look at me, Damien! It's all for you, Damien!" Umka, thank you very much for the €5 super chat. That's cheered me up immensely. Thank you. The first super chat of the day. Keeps this channel going, so thank you very much. Trump and his gang judge power of a country by the size of it on the Mercator projection. Russia looks big, hence it's powerful. I think you're right, Umka. And that's the reason why he wants Canada and Greenland, because they also look disproportionately bigger than they actually are on the Mercator projection. And I honestly, like, it's... I'd argue with people who would tell me that the Mercator projection was evil because it makes Europe look bigger than it actually is and makes Africa look smaller than it actually is. Because it's just a tool. It's just a tool. And if you are navigating your way around the world, especially on a boat, it's really fucking useful. Why is it useful? Because the lines go straight up. The lines go straight up. Now, if you imagine, like, you try and get a globe and you put it apart like a peel of an orange or something, and try and flatten it out, the lines won't be straight. The lines just will be a little bit off, and there'll be little cuts in it, and it'll have that sort of shape that you get when you try and project the world more or less as it is, but you won't be able to go straight. When you are on a boat in the middle of the water, and you can work out which way is north and south and east and west by the sun, right? And a sextant. You got a sextant and a Mercator projection. That's fucking useful, okay? If you get the Gulls Peter projection, you're fucked, mate. I'm sorry, but you're fucked. You're not getting anywhere. You're gonna stay in the ocean. You're gonna die in the ocean. There's no one coming for you because you don't know which way north is. You don't know what's north, I should say. I mean, you can work out which way it was, but good luck with actually hitting fucking land there. And this is what the Mercator projection does really well, because you have a compass. It points north. Ta-da! Easy. Right? So I know that if I go up from this point of the map, I will hit that. I will hit Canada. I will hit Mexico. I will hit Russia. I will hit the North Pole. Whatever it is. It's directly up on the map. So, yeah. But having said that, I can sort of see people's points because if someone's a dickhead like Trump and they look at the Mercator projection and they see that the size of Greenland compared with the size of Africa is like the same, 54 countries of Africa with this one, it's a big island, Greenland, but it's not that big. And they are the same size. So Trump's looking at Greenland on this Mercator projection and going, yeah, I'll have that. It's massive. He does talk about maps a lot. When he's talking about taking over Canada, he's like, "Oh, it'll be this big, beautiful place that we'll have that whole area of the map." And he talks about straight line, an arbitrary straight line. First of all, it's not. It goes around the Great Lakes. But aside from that, right, the 49th parallel is a straight line from the Great Lakes all the way to the coast, right? Straight line. But there's loads of straight lines in American states. In fact, Hawaii is the only American state that doesn't have a straight line in its outline. In its border, and many states, like places like Wyoming, it's just straight lines. It is literally, they have just done a fucking square around the egg. That's Wyoming. And you look at the border between Iraq and Saudi Arabia. It's a fucking straight line. It's just a line. Jordan, so I'll do it this way around for you, I think. Jordan here, right? So then you've got like Kuwait here, and there's a straight line between. It was drawn by a British cartographer, of course. Anyway, so let's get back to Putin. That's unfortunately. So yeah, like I say, if Putin is given everything he wants, it will embolden him. And what does that mean for Taiwan? And also, it puts NATO into crisis. Like Trump's already threatened to pull the US out of NATO, which is going to create problems for the rest of us. And people go, no, but Britain needed to improve its military. Europe needed to improve its military. Fuck off. No, we didn't. We didn't need to do any of this. Yes, we were reliant on the US for certain things because they made us reliant on them. They made it so we had to buy their parts and their machinery and their technical skills and their fucking software. You know, their bits and bobs, their military industrial complex. We had to buy into it. That was part of the deal of being part of NATO, which Trump also thinks is very unfair. No, we're buying stuff off you, knobhead. We were. But this idea that America's been looking after the world, they were doing it out of their own fucking self-interest. They were making loads of money out of it. You think how much government spend on defense and they give a portion of that money, portion of taxpayers' money, your money, going to an American company to make bombs and guns? How does that help us to start with? Doesn't. How does that help America? It does. So if anything, we've had the piss taken out of us for many years. Someone should be standing up against that. But here's the thing. People go, oh, but we needed more weapons. We needed more weapons. We wouldn't have had Trump not turned into a twat. But now we do. Where's that money going to come from? Where is that money going to come from? It's going to come from us. Every fucking time. Whether it's taxes going up, whether it's the benefits going down, whether it's increased borrowing by the government, which decreases the amount they can spend on the things we actually need, looking after people, pensions, sickness benefits, PIP, fucking infrastructure, fixing the bridges, fixing the tunnels, fixing the roads, fixing new railway tracks. We can't even put down a fucking railway track in this country. But suddenly we've got all this money to spend on fucking military stuff that we wouldn't fucking need if it wasn't for Trump. Also, actually, we wouldn't need if it wasn't for fucking Putin. We were winding down. The world was winding down militarily until that fucker came along. Suddenly we're going to spend all our money on fucking weapons now. Instead of helping people. Instead of saving the lives of children. Instead of looking after the elderly, who may have wisdom to impart. A few of them. Not the ones who voted for Brexit. Ovs. Fucking hell. None of this needed to happen. None of this was necessary. We are living in Putin's fucking fever dream right now. With Trump in the White House, all bets are off. Putin is getting what he wants with absolute minimum effort. Minimal effort. China is gaining leverage over the West. Trump maybe will have a deal to wave around at the 2026 midterms, if they happen. I don't think they will. But at what cost? Who loses? Ukraine? NATO? Every other country apart from Russia? And Belarus? And US, the USA. Because no one is going to trust the USA anymore. And all trade must be done on trust. All trade must be done on trust. And the fact that Trump has had to declare bankruptcy so many times and always been bailed out by somebody. The Russians. It was the Russians who bailed him out. That's why he's in hock with them. But yeah, read between the lines. So the Republicans once claimed to be the party of Reagan. Anti-Russia, strong national defense. Now they're excusing Trump's deference to Putin because they're terrified of him. They're terrified of Trump and what he might do to them. They don't want to make eye contact. You know the psycho at the pub? You don't make eye contact. Yeah, you know that one? Yeah, that's Trump. Begbie. Big, fat, orange Begbie. That's what we have in Trump. A train spotting reference. And then when Biden sent aid to Ukraine, the Republicans called him weak. Now Trump hands Russia everything they want and they're silent. They said Biden was weak for not doing enough to support Ukraine. There were Republicans who thought that they should be sending troops in to defend Ukraine, to defend Europe against these barbarians from the East. Now they're silent. They're not saying anything. Even John Bolton is saying this is a disaster. John Bolton, Jesus Christ. And the Democrats' response to even talk about this. they're going to surrender to Trump today. Elizabeth Warren isn't, by the way. She said that she's going to vote against their bill, their funding bill. And I hope that all the senators do. But I know at least one, John Fetterman, is going to vote with the Republicans, going to vote with Trump to continue to dismantle the government at great speed. Oh, no, we better not vote for this, otherwise the government shut down. What happens if the government shut down? Well, there won't be any more US aid. Okay. There won't be any more US Department of Education. Okay. There won't be any more parks for people to go to, national parks being looked after by park rangers. They'll all be closed. Okay. All those things are happening anyway. Tell me what's going to be new. What's going to be new if they don't allow Trump to get this through, the Republicans to get this through, is that Trump and his cronies aren't going to get paid. I'm quite interested in that. I'm quite interested in that part of it when the government shuts down and the stealing of all America's riches by the oligarchs, by these Russian-backed oligarch scum who are in charge of America right now. Be interested to see what happens when the money runs out. Hey, it's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen anyway, but, they're looting on the way out. Maybe you should stop them looting. Maybe you should, Democrats. But, yeah, they've made some statements, the Democrats. They've made statements of concern. Great. So yeah, the GOP, the Republicans, the Fox News, the OENN, the fucking Peter Thiels and the Rupert Murdochs and the Elon Musks and the other criminal, illegal immigrants of the world will spin Trump's failures as strength if the Democrats don't hammer reality home hard enough. And the Democrats are failing on every level. There's people who are standing up in town halls making more of a fuss than the Democratic Party right now. And will they step up before 2026 for the midterms that I don't think are going to happen? Or we'll just hope that things speak for themselves. Taking us back to the show at the beginning of the week. They won't. So yeah, Trump's foreign policy. Trump thinks that he's playing Putin. Putin knows he's playing Trump. The USA is losing. And the world is watching. What a time to be alive. Fuck. So, Joseph, most of though, Alchemist, lol. Don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, I missed the conversation. Alchemist, I will not challenge that assessment. It's for the best if you think that. What? Joseph, I am Pete. I am well, Pete. How are you this morning? Oh, okay. I don't know why you think you guys are 7 hours ahead of us, Anne. I guess that's wrong. What? Everyone's having conversations with each other. Imagine, oh, here we go. Here's one for me. Christopher, imagine what China will be like when they beat the USA to the moon. Musk trying to abandon the whole moon-based project. Yeah, well, Musk isn't all there. What can I say? Trump ain't a Begbie. Begbie is hard. That's true that Begbie is hard, but everyone doesn't want to make eye contact with Begbie because he might go psycho on them at the pub. So, although Begbie is physically, more dangerous than Trump is just as dangerous as Begbie when it comes to destroying people's lives, setting his MAGA goons on people, on judges, on lawyers, on school teachers, on trans people, on gay people, on women, on whoever else he decides to, he fixes his eye of Sauron on from one day to the next. Joseph, you lot changed the clocks over there, daylight savings time. Yeah, America's already into daylight saving times. We are not over here. Trump said daylight savings time is dreadful because, you think of an old granny who dies and they'll have an hour less. He actually said that. Then I say the guy's an idiot. He's on like a whole different level of stupid. It's like stupid meets dementia. That's what it is. Katrina Tam, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, Katrina Tam. Let's cheer me up. Hi, Graham. Here's some money. Woohoo! By the way, having crypto as a Federal Reserve is literally going to destroy the dollar, by the way. Yes, it is. Because as I've explained on shows in the past, you can't control the price of the crypto. You have some control over the value of the British pound, over the value, if you're British, if you're the Bank of England, you've got some control over the price, the value of the American dollar. If you are the Fed, you have some, your European Central Bank, you have some control, some modicum of control over the value of the euro. They all have no control over the value of crypto. No one has any control over the value of crypto. Well, I mean, you can manipulate it. You can get Trump to tweet out something that says, hey, I'm going to invest in crypto. We're going to start a Federal Reserve of crypto. And then the value of your Bitcoin goes up 100%. And everyone goes, yeah, I've made shitloads of money, including the people who actually just put a huge bet on it going up to the fucking rooftops. $100 million they bet on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies just before Trump's announcement that he was going to start a Federal Reserve of Bitcoin. I mean, the corruption is off the charts. Imagine if the Democrats did that. Imagine if Labour did that. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? The door is open to scammers, says David. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, David. You're right, mate. It is like, how many times do we have to hear a story of people being scammed in crypto? How many times do you hear people losing their life savings and Russian hackers, North Korean hackers just making off with billions of dollars of other people's fucking money? I mean, come on. Yeah. So yeah. For the Democrats out there who probably won't be watching this, but like, get a spine. That's all I gotta say to you. And for any Republicans who have a shred of decency left, your party's sleepwalking into making America Russia's puppet state. Like, if you're not going to stand up against it now, when will you? Once it's too late to do anything. I don't know. Corruption at the highest fucking level. That's putting it mildly. Hey, by the way, if you'd like to join the people in the chat, not just with making comments, but if you'd like one of these lovely little roses that are after people's names. See, Anne Phillips has got a little rose after her name, which is nice, and Katrina Tam has a rose after her name. If you would like a rose yourself, all you need to do is press the join button, which is there for some people. It's not there for everyone, but if it is there, you can join the channel. A few quid a month, that's all it is. But it really makes the making of these shows a lot less stressful because you're not completely relying on super chats to, buy food, pay the electricity bill. Yeah, I mean, it might get to a point where I'm doing these shows in the car on my phone just to keep the electricity bill down, because having screens up with stuff on and lights and it's all low power. But anyway, so I'm going to head over to the papers now, since it is nearly 9:15. I'm not finish on time today. We've got Daily Mail here. Finally, patients to be put before NHS bureaucrats. I don't like it when the Daily Mail likes something that Labour's done. That puts me on edge. 9,300 jobs to go as ministers scrap NHS England, the world's biggest quango, to improve care and crack down on wokery. What? What the fuck, Daily Mail? Crack down on wokery? What, you mean the way that black women are like 3 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women? You mean that kind of wokery? Yeah, we're going to clamp down on that, are you? Fucking knobheads. And then we've got some gambling, because, gambling is moral and stuff. And then you've got a cartoon of a guy with NHS England on his briefcase, and it says, I'm afraid I got some very bad news. Police launch manslaughter probe into hospital staff, which I actually agree with, although I'm not really taken with the whole she's innocent sort of thing. I think the probability of that many babies dying on her watch and being, critically injured in her watch on her watch is just I know this is an appeal to credulity, but come on. But yes, it wasn't noticed. So I think that the hospital staff need to take some responsibility for that. The people running the hospital as well. The drama, the TV drama all parents should watch, says the Times about something. And then, I gave up vaping. Now I'm addicted to snus. Snus? I don't even know what snus is. 10,000 staff facing sack as Starmer abolishes NHS England. They just added an extra 700 on there. Putin backs ceasefire in Ukraine, but on his terms, as we discussed this morning. Deal must not let Kyiv rearm, says Kremlin. Russian leader proposes direct call with Trump, and he's got a picture of him looking like this. Take nature's painkiller by tuning into Attenborough. Next time you have a headache, Try taking a walk in the countryside or even watching a David Attenborough documentary. Well, I didn't know about headaches, but I always watch David Attenborough documentaries when I just want to chill out. Like, they are the best things to watch to chill out on the TV in a way that, I don't know, Severance isn't. Put the knives down. Murder team's family plea in crime on crime as killer is jailed for life. The family of a schoolgirl murdered in the street begged for an end to knife crime as a killer was jailed for life. Tributes pouring in. She was just 15 years old. Terrifying. And then we've got we live in the world where everyone's dying. Tilda Swinton and Joshua Oppenheimer. We live in a world where everyone is like, I'm not lying. Fuck off. Don't say that I'm lying. Fuckers. Posh fuckers. Good times. Nile Rodgers best songs ranked. Okay. Cool. Street Sing scraps NHS England in high stakes push to improve care. Putin questions ceasefire plan and set string of conditions. So you see most of the stories here today are about the what's going on in Ukraine, Putin, Trump, and about what's happening to NHS England. We're going to get really into what's happening with NHS England and everything else that's happened this week with Labour in this country. At 1 o'clock, the agenda with me and Phil Morehouse from A Different Bias. Please tune into that if you want to interest in sort of domestic politics. There's a very strange picture of a woman saluting. She looks like she's done a neck in. Look, she's like this. Isn't that weird? That's quite terrifying, isn't it? That's like the face of, oh my god. Prevaricating Putin. We agree with proposals for ceasefire, but we have many questions. Now Trump wants 200% EU booze tariff to counter nasty whiskey tax. PM's bonfire the bureaucrats. NHS England scrapped. Starmer's astonishing abolition of the £200 billion quango in charge of day-to-day running of health services brings it back under control of ministers, with up to 10,000 checkers and blockers facing sack and more civil service cuts on their way. Well. The interesting thing about this is that the Mail's going for it. That means that the Gams think this is a good idea. But here's the thing. The NHS England was only invented in 2012 by the Gams, by the Tory party. And I think it may have been invented, and we can talk about this at 1 o'clock, as a way of gumming up the works for people getting treated by the NHS in order to, make the NHS look bad and make people go, oh, well, maybe we should go private. Maybe we should privatize the NHS. Maybe we should sell it to America. At least then I'll get my operation. I don't know. We'll talk about it at 1. Tune in at 1. Daily Express here. Putin, I will agree truce, but only on my terms. And then we've got the killer of the evil teenager gets life for killing Eliane. And then the same picture. That's weird, isn't it? Oh, man. Do you know what? I just think I just put my neck out. I love you, Putin. I love you. Just weird, isn't it? Peace on my terms, warns Putin. Russian leader delays ceasefire deal as troops advance. He tells Ukrainians trapped in Kursk, surrender or die. He wants peace. He just wants peace. The guy just wants peace. And then we've got NHS revolution, streeting seizes control of 192 billion health service to force change. 9,500 jobs will be cut. NHS England is abolished, and a high-stakes political gamble by government in the biggest shake-up for a decade. Health Secretary Wes Streeting and Blairite ex-Minister Alan Milburn take direct control of the NHS, ousting its managers and promising to cut red tape and job duplication. They say the move will free up hundreds of millions of pounds, well, about 192 billion, that'd be nice, to spend on frontline services. Takeover means buck stops with Streeting, who hints at further changes ahead for the health service. Reform or die, he said. Staff left reeling less than 48 hours of being told of contemptuous 50% cut in the workforce. Starmer acts as NHS England in big health service revamp. Ex-Aberdeen boss overruled advisors to push through ill-fated 2021 rebrand. And then we've got that was the Aberdeen, like they changed the name to ABDN or something, didn't they? And it was all lowercase. Do you remember Abbey National did that? They changed the name of Abbey National to Abbey, and it was all lowercase in big friendly letters. Fucking. It makes the marketing department of the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation look good. Anyway, what's the time, Mr. Psycho Scumbag Chatbot? We're saved. Robots don't have a clue about clocks. There's hope for civilization after all. After Boffins revealed these dastardly bots can't even tell the time. Dumbos. Okay. And then Starmer's shock NHS takeover. Less waste, better care promised as health body acts to save cash. PM targets flabby, unfocused quangos. Okay. Well, there you have it. Well, lots to talk about at 1 o'clock, I think. But now we're just going to have a look at your messages. Snooze, like in sleeping. Colin, ask David. Colin says, meanwhile, the hard of thinking reckon Starmer's abolishing the NHS. Well, well, it's NHS England, isn't it? So it makes them go, oh, he's giving me the NHS. Yeah. Morning, Graham. It's Adolescence. I watched it yesterday. It talks about incel culture, Tate, etc. All very good. Very, very good. Okay, I'll watch that. I've actually seen a couple of adverts for it. I thought I'd look into it. Luckily, we are... Oh, God, I'm getting a call. Oh, I don't like getting a call. I'm waiting on a call from important call people. But I can't answer it because I'm doing a show. Never mind. Sorry, people who are calling me there. I'm going to get a message now on my phone. I hate answer phone messages. Even more than I hate... those messages that people leave, the voice notes on WhatsApp. Well, you can now transcribe them. I love nothing more than people leaving long, rambling voice notes that go on for 15 fucking minutes, and you've got to sit there listening to it. Maybe you don't have your headphones or earbuds or whatever, and you're sitting there. Or you have to leave the room because there's kids in the room, and you don't know if it's going to be like A. Thompson going on about his dad's balls or something. Or you're on the train and there's other people on the train, and you're like, well, I can't listen to it. You can transcribe it now on WhatsApp, which is cool. So I'll check out that voice note in a minute. Hey, NHS England, most famous for outsourcing cancer diagnosis. Oh my God. That's from Christopher Bowles. Starmer's the PM who gets the blame for everything, regardless of who caused it or whether it's a bad thing. It duplicates work the NHS already do, says Martin Harrow. So I'm getting the feeling that most people in the chat here are kind of like, well, whatever about it. Koala says, I'm a koala. They sleep a lot, koalas. So do wombats. They sleep a lot. Joseph says, I'm trying to learn my way around the basics of UK politics. Lol. They don't teach us much about it in the USA. Yeah, I mean, which I think is to the detriment of the USA, because there's other ways of doing democracies. We've got a parliamentary democracy here rather than a presidential democracy, and I think it works better for our country. I think works better with our psyche, or the way that we regard ourselves. There's a few facets of it that I don't like. I don't like that our head of state is unelected, but I do like that our head of state has no political power, like the head of state of, say, India or Germany, where they are presidents, but they don't have any power. Modi has all the power. Cologne or whatever his name is, the new guy who's just got in for Germany, he's the chancellor. He makes the big political decisions, and the president just signs off on stuff and steps in if anyone's threatening to overthrow democracy. After the Second World War, Germany put in some really amazing stopgaps into the constitution to stop the Nazis ever rising again. It's why, although I am concerned about the AfD getting X amount of support, they shouldn't be ever able to overthrow democracy again in Germany, like what we're seeing in the USA at the moment, where there's a complete overthrow going on. And one of the reasons being is that the High Court judges, their equivalent of the Supreme Court, those people are not beholden to anyone. It's a 12-year term. They have to be elected with something like 2/3 of the politicians in the Reichstag, or whatever. I don't know what the exact process is, but it's a lot more robust, and they're not beholden to the president who put them in power. In the American system, which is bonkers, you're a member of the Supreme Court for life, and you're eternally grateful to the president who put you into that position, who will expect something in return. Quid pro quo. Graham, my comment about Starmer being blamed for everything was Joseph's question about his popularity, so just a general point. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. He's going to get blamed for everything. But he's the Prime Minister, so he should be. As the captain of the ship, he should get blamed, even if he's not Russian. Colin says, yes, please ignore social media comments saying Starmer's the worst ever PM. Of course, you mustn't take what's said here as gospel either, but we criticise Starmer when necessary. I mean, we're not beholden to the government on this channel by any stretch of the imagination, and when they do really dickheaded things, we will point out that they've done a dickhead thing. I don't know about this NHS England. I would like to talk to doctors. I'd like to talk to nurses, people on the front line who are actually going to be affected by this, whether they think that it's a good thing. I've only seen one post so far about it from a doctor friend of mine, and he seems a bit negative over the whole thing because it means more restructuring, and he feels like there wasn't enough consultation done. Doctors love a good consultation. I've got other friends who are doctors. I will pick their brains about it and see what they say. Pete, that's very insulting to witches, says David Peacock. Don't be being mean to witches. We like witches here on this channel. We're a very witchy channel. Lol. Indeed. And Billy says, Sarah, Phil calling for full rebellion if he proposes cuts, not be in manifesto, be cool. Thanks for the advice. I'm learning a lot. Oh, that's nice. That's nice, Joseph. Graham, my comment. Oh, I read that one. And then we say, they failed to teach us many things here, says Joseph. Yeah, but they did give us, you guys did give us the internet. I know the World Wide Web was a British invention, but the internet was an American invention, and it's allowed people to learn more than ever before. But unfortunately, because of the way we're taught, like you're taught in school, it's all curated. You're all taught certain things, certain topics by certain people. It's not just a free-for-all. You're not just thrown into a classroom with just information on all the walls, scrawled on pen on all the walls, and then it's left up to you to make a critical decision on like what bits of scrawled pen on the walls you should listen to, which bits of that are fact, and then which bits are fiction. I think that there is a need in the UK and the US and other countries to help children develop critical faculties, not necessarily have to learn about the parliamentary structure of New Zealand or something, but have it so that kids know how to find stuff out, know which scribbles on the wall are genuine and which ones are bullshit, and not go down, ridiculous rabbit holes of misogyny and hatred, this anti-woke stuff. All anti-woke means is just anti-politeness, anti-decency. That's what it means. We're going to get rid of all this decency. The D in DEI stands for decency as far as I'm concerned. It's being decent to people. And as someone who went to a state school, even though I am white and I am middle class and I speak English and I was born in the UK, even though all those things, if I got a job in the British film industry or on TV in this country, I would be seen as a DEI hire because I didn't go to private school. And that's true not just in this country, but in other countries as well. The top people in America, the big CEOs, the Silicon Valley lot and all that, they all went to the top universities. And one of the things that pisses me off when people go, it's all right, if you drop out of university, because look at all these dropouts who did really well. Yeah, they did well because they have family money. They have family money behind them. They didn't drop out with nothing. And they're going to end up on the fucking streets. The rest of us need that qualification. Don't be snooty about it. Don't be all like, oh, well, darling, University of Life. Especially if your dad was a millionaire. That's not the University of Life, mate. That's you choosing whether you need a university or degree or not. Because when push comes to shove, you don't really need one. Going back to what Gary Stevenson said, if you have two people living next door to each other and one does fuck all day, they're going to lose. They're not going to earn as much money as the person next door who's very industrious, who goes out and works, right? But that person who's very industrious, who goes out and works, maybe has 2 or 3 jobs, works every hour God sends, will never earn as much money as a rich person sitting on his couch playing Nintendo. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 78 Hong Kong dollars. It's very kind of you. I'm just going to give you a super chat. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, all the way from Hong Kong. The problem with internal congressional debates between Democrats and Republicans is neither have the guts to tell the truth to the American people that the United States foreign policy always causes wars. Well, I don't know, David, because you could point to certain times on the American foreign policy where they've actually prevented wars or stopped wars from going ahead. I mean, the big one for me would be in the 90s with what was going on after the breakup of the former Yugoslavia. Well, breakup of Yugoslavia, I guess it wasn't former then. The genocide that was going on in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, in Mostar, in Kosovo, through those years was absolutely horrific. And NATO, led by the US, stopped it. They stopped the fighting. They forced a peace that probably wouldn't have happened had NATO not intervened. And I think that there are some other cases where it was right to intervene. I mean, in the case of Britain, I think we were right to intervene in Sierra Leone. You had a situation in which a civil war in Liberia next door had spilled over, and these militias needed money to keep going, and they got that through diamonds from Sierra Leone. And they sold these blood diamonds on, and they used that money to buy weapons. And they were arming small children aged 8, 9 years old were going around committing the most horrific acts of violence at the behest of these horrible men who had come into their country from another country, a lot of them from Liberia. And they were threatening to take over the capital, Freetown. And there were British soldiers and British diplomats there in Freetown, in the embassy and stuff. The British immigrants, we call them expats, but they're not. They're immigrants over there at the same time, and the rebels were encroaching on the capital, and British forces were sent there to get all the white people out, get all the British people out. But they realised what they were up against. It was kids with guns. It was kids. It was children. And there was a conversation between the leader, the head of the military expedition, and Tony Blair. And Tony Blair said, "Fuck it, save the city, and they did." And you got to understand, it was a crazy time, but these kids had never seen a fucking soldier, a real soldier. They've been going around to village to village, just murdering women and fellow children. They hadn't seen a real soldier. And these squaddies turn up with all the kit and the proper camo and everything, a big fuck off gun. They dropped their AK-7s and ran away. They ran away. And then when I came over the border into Sierra Leone on my journey around the world, it was when swine flu was a thing, right? So I had to have my temperature taken when I went across some borders. And so I went into this room and there was a doctor there, and he shook my hand and he saw my passport and he said, "Thank you." And I said, "Oh, what for?" And, I haven't done anything. He said, "No, you're British. And in my darkest hour, you came and you saved my life, and you saved my wife's life and my children's lives. And it is it's a gratitude I will remember I will hold for the rest of my life." And I was like, and he was holding my hand and shaking it while he was saying this with his other hand on the back of my hand, really kind of like, "Thank you for doing that military intervention. I didn't do it. Wasn't me. It wasn't my decision." But I don't think that we can just write everything that America does in terms of its foreign policy and everything that America does in terms of its everything Britain does or any other, necessarily does as always a bad thing. Because sometimes, it does make peace happen if no one else is willing to go in and force peace on the area. Now, since then, there's been I think it was Mali. I don't want to say this now in case I got it wrong. It was either Mali or Burkina Faso. I think it was Mali, where French forces went in because you had ISIS in the Sahara or whatever they called themselves, murdering people, murdering civilians left, right, and centre, and the forces from France. We still keep a hand in those countries, the old francophone countries in West Africa, Central Africa, with the notable exception of Guinea, still have a strong connection with the French government, and yeah, sometimes the French will go in and if they have to. But in more recent years, the African Union's got a lot better at policing itself. So if a country decides to go rogue, you're seeing troops going in or peacekeepers going in on behalf of the African Union, which is great, because I feel a bit fucking dicey going to Africa and saying, hey, don't worry, guys, I'll save you. Can you imagine why I might feel a bit dicey doing that? Can you? Post-colonial guilt, anyone? Anyway, right, so I'm going to get off now. Thanks very much for watching. Captain Coconut, there are times when it's right to get involved. Then there are dodgy dossiers that end up killing thousands of Iraqis, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. Getting involved can be many things, says Captain Coconut. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's times when we got involved when we absolutely should not have done so. But don't forget, there were no massive protests against the K4 troops going into Kosovo, right? There weren't any. Everyone sort of looked at it and went, okay. There weren't any massive protests against going into Afghanistan and taking out the Taliban, because most people looked at the situation and went, okay, Iraq, there was a fucking massive protest. There was more than one, but the main one was like 1 million people down in London saying no, because it made no sense. It made absolutely no sense at all to go in and try and affect regime change in this huge country, which we knew was going to cause destabilization all across the Middle East. Destabilization that is still being felt to this very day. And British people died. British soldiers died fighting alongside America to take out one squishy human being. I mean, to take out one dictator. Let's invite him on the yacht and push him off the fucking yacht. Invite him over on a plane and blow up the fucking plane. I don't know. One person. You're going to do all that to take out one fucking person? Are you mad? You know, it's like finding someone guilty of a crime in the country where capital punishment is allowed and going, well, we could just put you in front of a firing squad or give you a lethal injection or put you in one of those dang little electric chairs. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to kill you, but we're also going to kill 100,000 of your own countrymen and women for no reason whatsoever. No reason whatsoever. Okay, that'll learn you when you're dead. Anyway, didn't work. So yeah, I'm not saying that all military intervention is a good thing. Often it's not. I'm not saying that it's completely the case that all American intervention over the years and all British intervention has been a negative thing. I mean, you could look at America helping Ukraine up to this point. I'll be back at 1 o'clock with Phil Morehouse, as I keep advertising throughout the show. Do you like the way I pepper the show with come back at 1 o'clock for me and Phil Morehouse? We'll be talking about what's happening with the NHS, NHS England, Wes Streeting, who me and Phil don't like. Put cards on the table. I don't think a lot of people who watch this channel like Wes Streeting. I think he looks like a haunted ventriloquist puppet. But he's too shiny. You like Crafty Wank, Darren Grimes. He's too shiny as well. What is the shiny people? Do they like shine their face up? Do they get like, you know, what you do shiny shoes? Do they shine their faces? I don't know. They're too shiny. That's what I don't like about them. Anyway, if you would like to give us a like on the way out, that'd be really kind of you. And it would be really helpful for the channel. Doesn't cost anything. Please do. And until next time, I'll say thank you very much for watching. Thanks for all the lovely comments. Thank you for the super chats. Really appreciate that. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.